Okay, hi everyone, welcome back to the Comptia Security Plus course. Preventing and troubleshooting viruses. We can do several things to protect a computer system from viruses. First, every computer should have a strong endpoint protection platform, meaning that antivirus software should be running on it. There are many providers of antivirus protection plus manufacturers of operating systems often bundle AV software with the OS or offer free download. Second, the AV software should be updated, which means that the software requires a current license. This is renewed yearly with most providers. When updating, be sure to update the AV engine and the definitions if you are doing it manually. Otherwise, set the AV software to automatically update at periodic intervals, for example, every day or every week. It's a good idea to schedule regular full scans of the system within the AV software as long as the definitions have been updated. Antivirus systems usually locate viruses along with other malware such as worms and Trojans. However, these systems usually do not locate logic bombs, rootkits, and botnet activity. In lieu of this, keep in mind that AV software is important, but it's not a cure-all. Next, we want to make sure that the computer has the latest updates available. This goes for the operating system and applications. Backdoors into operating systems and other applications are not uncommon, and the OS manufacturers often release fixes for these breaches of security. Windows offers the Windows Update program. This should be enabled, and you should either check for updates periodically or set the system to check for updates automatically. It might be that your organization has rules governing how Windows Update functions. If so, configure automatic updates according to your company's policy. It's also important to make sure that the firewall is available, enabled and updated. A firewall closes all inbound ports or your computer or network in an attempt to block intruders. For instance, Windows Firewall is a built-in software-based feature included in Windows. This is illustrated in figure 2.1. You can see that the firewall in the figure is enabled for private and guest networks. Always verify functionality of the endpoint firewall. You might also have a home-based firewall, for example, one that is included in a small home office Soho router. By using both, you have two layers of protection from various attacks that might include a payload with malware. Keep in mind that you might need to set exemptions for programs that need access to the internet. This can be done by the program or by port used by the protocol and can be configured to enable specific applications to communicate through the firewall while keeping the rest of the ports closed. Another way to help prevent viruses is to use what I call separation of OS and data. This method calls for two hard drives. The operating system is installed to the C drive and the data is stored in the D drive or whatever letter you use for the second drive. This compartmentalizes the system and data, making it more difficult for viruses to spread and easier to isolate them when scanning. It also enables easy reinstallation without having to back up your data. A less expensive way to accomplish this is by using two partitions on the same drive. Encryption is one excellent way to protect data that would otherwise be compromised or lost due to virus activity on a computer. Windows operating systems make use of the encryption file system EFS, which can encrypt files on an individual basis. When a file is encrypted in this manner, the file name shows up green in color within Windows Explorer or File Explorer. It prevents clear text access and defies modification in most cases. Encryption of this type probably won't prevent viruses from occurring, but it can help to protect individual files from being compromised, PKI and encryption protocols. Finally, educate users as to how viruses can infect a system. Instruct them on how to screen their emails and tell them not to open unknown attachments. Show them how to scan removable media before copying files to their computer, or set up the computer to scan removable media automatically. Sometimes user education works, sometimes it doesn't. One way to make user education more effective is to have a technical trainer educate your users instead of doing it yourself, or consider creating interactive online learning tutorials. These methods can provide for a more engaging learning environment. By using all of these techniques, virus infection can be severely reduced. However, if a computer is infected by a virus, you want to know what to look for so that you can cure the computer. Here are some typical symptoms of viruses. Computer runs slower than usual. Computer locks up frequently or stops responding altogether. Computer restarts on its own and crashes frequently. Hard drives, optical drive and applications are not accessible or don't work properly. Strange sounds occur. You receive unusual error messages. Display or print distortion occurs. New icons appear, or old icons and applications disappear. There is a double extension on a file attached to an email that was opened, for example .text, .vbs or text.exe. Antivirus programs will not run or can't be installed. Files have been corrupted, or folders are created automatically. System restore capabilities are removed or disabled. Here is a recommended procedure for the removal of malware in general. Identify malware symptoms, quarantine infected systems, disable system restore in Windows, remediate infected systems, update anti-malware software, use scan and removal techniques, for example safe mode and pre-installation environments, schedule scans and run updates, enable system secure and create a restore point in Windows. Educate users. Before making any changes to the computer, make sure that you back up critical data and verify that the latest updates have been installed to the OS and AV software. Then perform a thorough scan of the system using the AV's software's scan utility. If allowed by the software, run the scan in safe mode. Another option is to move the affected drive to a clean machine, a computer that is not connected to any network and is used solely for the purpose of scanning for malware. This scan is done by using a USB converter kit or a removable drive system, or by slaving the affected drive to another hard drive port of the other computer. Then run the AV software on that clean machine to scan that drive. PC repair shops use this isolated clean machine concept. Hopefully the AV software finds and quarantines the virus on the system. In the case that the AV software scan does not find the issue, or if the AV software has been infected and won't run, you can try using a free online scanner. In rare cases, you might need to delete individual files and remove registry entries. This might be the only solution when a new virus has infected a system and there is no antivirus definition released. Instructions on how to remove viruses in this manner can be found on AV software manufacturers' websites. When it comes to boot sector viruses, your AV software is still the best bet. The AV software might use a bootable USB flash drive or bootable disk to accomplish scanning of the boot sector, or it might have boot shielding built in. Some UEFI BIOS programs have the capability to scan the boot sector of the hard drive at startup. This might need to be enabled in the UEFI BIOS setup first. You can also use recovery environments and the command line to repair the boot sector. Another possibility is to use freely downloadable Linux-based tools and live Linux disks such as Knoppix, which can be used to boot and repair the computer. Keep in mind that the recovery environments and other command line methods might not fix a problem. They might render the hard drive inoperable depending on the type of virus. So it's best to first use the AV's software, various utilities that you purchase for the system. Preventing and troubleshooting worms and Trojans. Worms and Trojans can be prevented and troubleshoot in the same manner as viruses. There are free online scanners for Trojans, but in most cases standard AV scans for worms and viruses, in addition to viruses and perhaps other malware as well. Usually AV software can easily detect remote access Trojans, which were mentioned previously in this chapter, either by detecting the attacker's actual application or by detecting any .exe files that are part of the application and are used at the victim computer. Prevention is a matter of maintenance and careful user interaction with the computer. Keeping the AV software up to date is important once again, but even more important becomes the user's ability to use the computer properly, to navigate only to legitimate websites and to screen email carefully. Troubleshooting these types of malware is done in basically the same way as with viruses. The malware should be quarantined and or removed if at all possible with AV software or with advanced techniques mentioned in the previous section. The same prevention and troubleshooting techniques apply to ransomware because it is often delivered in the form of a Trojan. So I'm going to leave it here today for this video. If you like listening, please consider like, sharing and subscribing. Thank you.